Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
And just like YouTubers, you won't edit it out, even though
no,
we're
definitely.
Like, yeah, we should totally edit
this. But hey, it's going to be a little bit different here on out. I'm doing more of a podcast format. This is Sir Squiggleton. I mispronounced format, but we're gonna have to deal with that. And I'm joined by
Myrrh.
Yes. If you want to have an internet name later on, that's fine.
My Instagram that I never post art to, except for once every October, is Frankenstein and Myrrh.
Okay, perfect.
Myrrh spelled like the plant, not like Omer.
Yep, and because of Pride Month, even though it ended, we're not a greedy corporation, so we still acknowledge things past June. Generally wanted to talk about LGBTQ characters in video games, and which characters are not, and why it's important to differentiate that, as well as sometimes not differentiate that.
And just to give a little disclaimer, I am a queer woman. I use whatever pronouns. I always joke and say that I'm too powerful to misgender. And,
I do the same thing, honestly.
Yeah. And neither of us are trans.
No.
We've both had some gender fuckery,
yes.
but we are not presenting ourselves as experts on the trans experience.
No, generally talking about storylines and the importance of representation, because regardless of my status of being a cis male and everything, I think that representation is very important, but it has to be handled well.
Well, you've also, I believe you've had some, dalliances with more androgynous stuff, too, haven't you?
Well, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, me personally, yeah, I cross-dress and stuff, but I don't believe that... I believe that it's about your personal feelings rather than how you even present, and that's why whenever I cross-dress, I try not to... Yeah, I don't change my voice or anything, because I don't want to confuse anybody or make them uncomfortable, thinking oh, do I have to respect this person's pronouns? No, call me whatever you want. I don't care, but
yeah, you try to give people
I don't want to seem like I'm co-opting.
Cue.
I don't want to seem like I'm co-opting anything. Yeah. But the topic at hand came about because Persona 4 is in the news again, because Persona 4 Golden got released on PC, which reignited when did that game come out? 2008, so a 12-year-long debate about two particular characters. And you don't really know much about Persona, do you?
Yeah, fortunately, I will be the audience, every man that this has to get explained to. So pardon any ignorance on my part.
Okay, so... basically a breakdown. Kanji is not gay fully, and Naoto is definitely not trans. And I think that saying, Kanji is gay is reductive of his character, and saying Naoto is trans is also very reductive of her character, not only her character, but what she stands for. So, a general primer is that you encounter Kanji pretty early in the game. The dungeons... massive spoilers for everything we're going to talk about. So, Persona, Catherine, a couple other things.
Yeah, Broken Earth Trilogy by N.K. Jemisin. It's a book.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, we're going to go a bit further than just games. Sorry, I misspoke earlier.
So just so you guys know, I am a dalliance with traditional nerd stuff, but... I am an 85-year-old man, so I am really into things like old-timey crafts and reading books, especially the classics.
I ate some cottage cheese, today, so I don't know, that makes me old at heart, too.
It does. No. Older than me, even.
I love cottage cheese. But to the topic at hand. So, in Persona 4... when you first think, the big gimmick of the game is shadows, which is the repressed versions of yourself that will develop a dungeon if you fall into the alternate world, where many characters end up, and then if they accept their true selves, they will gain a persona, which is basically a JoJo stand. But in the case of Kanji, his storyline is that he develops feelings for Naoto, who is a character who's cross-dressing at the time, and begins having doubts about himself because he's always been one of those people who's super insecure and tries to act as manly as possible. So his shadow takes the form of the super flamboyant man at a bathhouse going very, very stereotypical voice talking about I want to see all the hunky men. And so a lot of people take that as, he's gay and in denial, and that's him, saying, him going, if I accept if I accept my gayness, I become this, because he doesn't see any ambiguity. But the general thing is that as the storyline goes on, he learns to, after he becomes your party member, you complete his social link and do his storyline. He kind of breaks down a bit more and more. It's like, oh no, I'm not defined by my interests. I may like cute things. Maybe sometimes I could find some guys cute. He's attracted to Naoto regardless, and Naoto is female. So so generally, and he does check out female characters from time to time as well. Yeah, they have reactions. So it's a thing that Kanji is likely bi, and I think that ambiguity is absolutely perfect for that character, because it's him accepting, okay, I don't have to live in black and white. And people calling Kanji gay is forcing him to live in black and white. If you say, oh no, he's just gay, no room for ambiguity whatsoever. And I think that's, gross and not, just very, like I said, reductive of the character.
Yeah, and, I think we were going to talk about this later, but in general, my general rule is, headcanons and fan theories I love, but it's gotta be interesting.
Yes.
Don't be, like you said, reductive and take out a character, something about a character.
Interesting. If Kanji, actually had, a bit of a struggle, and, because there's actually an interesting thing about Kanji is that he actually doesn't accept his shadow like every other character, and he only, sort of half-heartedly accepts it. But then it's that, but it's just because he's I refuse to believe any of that's there. But, later on, it's just the idea of his insecurity. The real villain is toxic masculinity, believing that if he doesn't fit into this perfect little niche of I am so manly, that he's not a man. Yeah. And that's really what his character's about. And I think that, it's obviously important to have gay representation, but I think that's also important to talk about what society expects of you and why you shouldn't give into that.
Yeah.
That brings me to Naoto, whose storyline is definitely about society. And in the case of Kanji, if somebody calls him gay, I'm pretty neutral on it for the most part. I'll say, no, there's a little bit more to it than that. But Naoto, I think if you call Naoto trans, that is a absolute, misunderstanding of what she stands for. So Naoto's deal is that she is she's from a famous line of detectives, works for the police, and when you first meet her, she is presenting as male, and doesn't really let anything on. But everyone's Naoto, he's a pretty cool guy. And then as the story goes on, you find Naoto's shadow, who is more childish and is kind of in the process of sort of like a surgeon almost, and in the process of threatening to alter Naoto, which is kind of an allegory for having a sex change, which Naoto does say that she does consider, but it's a case where it's not based on wanting to be a particular gender. It's the case of people want me to be this way, so I should be what people want me to be. But what do you want? It's no, that's not important right now. I need to focus on this. And the reason she dresses male at her job is because they don't take her seriously because she's a younger girl. So it's if I say I'm a detective prodigy and I'm a cool guy, then people will accept that more. And that's a way more interesting thing. But if Naoto was trans, there wouldn't be that conflict, because it would just be a case of, you pass as male, you can just dress as male, everyone thinks you are, and just transition quietly, and nobody would be the wiser. But the conflict comes from the fact that she's not doing that for herself, she's doing it for others. Mm-hmm. She's just putting on the mask that she wants them to.
Yeah. And that's actually pretty interesting, because, that's an issue that we have in America.
Definitely.
Where women aren't taken as seriously, but it's worse
an issue in every country.
Yeah, except for maybe South Africa, I think. Trevor Noah at least said that it's a very maternalist, matriarchal society. Because, there's a lot of men who are just absent, not because of their own doing, apartheid, racism, etc., etc. So women are the ones who really make society, kind of thing.
That's actually really cool. I didn't know that.
But a lot of countries, especially that are patriarchal, have that issue where women aren't taken as seriously in a job, and especially in Japan, where it's assumed that as soon as a woman gets married, pretty soon you have a time limit on when she's gonna leave the job and go be a stay-at-home mom and have her babies.
Yeah, I've seen that a lot here, but it's way more pronounced in Japan.
Yeah. Here, it's at least, acceptable for you to be... It's a lot more, acceptable to be a woman who ain't never gonna have kids.
Yeah.
And I'm sure people, if anybody's listening to this, are rolling their eyes so hard because that's still not acceptable. When you gonna have a baby?
Yeah, that's it. It's awful. But actually, so when Persona 5 rolled around, because most people only played like 3 and 4, and then they're going like, oh, why isn't there more gay representation in Persona and all that? It's like, they didn't play 2, which has Jun Karusu, who is a gay character, and he is pretty reserved, and a lot of his storyline is that he's reserved because he knows his parents don't accept his sexuality. And one of the bosses is his perception of his father disapproving of him. And it's a pretty dark moment, but kind of more interesting than that is that the protagonist in the game, pretty much a blank slate, but he's kind of a weirdo, like most Persona games. The only personality they ever show is that they're super weird. There's a dialogue option near the end of the game where you say like which party member you care about, and one of the things you can say as this as Tatsuya, I think I messed up his name. It is Tatsuya. Is
the
like, which
Persona
party member
Reddit community's gonna come for you.
They don't play 2 either.
Fair point.
But there's a choice near the end of the game where you can say which party member you care about. You can say my heart belongs to Jun. And the director of the game, when asked, hey, who's the canon couple? And he said, oh, Tatsuya and Jun.
Good.
It's like, yeah, so I'll personally take that. I think it's cool. It's obviously soft canon because I believe that that word of the author is not rock solid, but like I still think that's really cool that he would actually push that.
Yeah.
Going a little more into Persona 5, one of the big controversies was the gay couple in Shinjuku, who had their dialogue changed in Royal because in the original dub they basically had their way with Ryuji, and it was like kind of fucked up, and
Yikes.
They changed it to that they thought he had potential as a drag queen, and they basically took him to a bunch of shops to force him to wear outfits. And I think it's still like kind of shitty, but it has comedic potential in the way it's handled. But the interesting thing about that is that in a lot of Japanese society, if you're flamboyant gay men tend to use feminine pronouns, and in this case, in the original Japanese, they used feminine names.
Huh.
So they could easily be interpreted as being trans, but in the dub, they removed that completely.
By the way, that just reminded me that there is a movie called Tu Wong Fu. Okay. It's from when Wesley Snipes and I forget the other guy, but when they were at like the peak of their like action movie careers, they were in this movie with another gentleman, and again, I can't remember names, and all of them were drag queens, and it was just played straight.
Okay.
Like they were just like they committed to it fully, and apparently Wesley Snipes is fabulous.
Oh, okay.
And there is a thing online. I can't remember their name, but hopefully we'll find it in post.
Yeah.
But
I'll edit it in,
or we can just put it in the description that nobody reads.
No, I'm just going to put it in text that pops up.
Yeah,
I'll do some minimal editing.
Okay, but so it will be like there's a thing, and it's like this drag queen review video where they review Tu Wong Fu, and it sounds like the most ridiculous movie, and I think everybody should watch it.
That does sound kind of great. I think that's one thing. You say they play it completely straight and don't even acknowledge it.
Yeah, basically.
That's awesome. And
like
I
they
love
do
that.
acknowledge it. Like it's not. It's like a soft acknowledge. Like spoilers for Tu Wong Fu, a movie that's been out for like 30 or 40 years. But at the end, there's like looking for these drag queens because they're in this small town, and they assaulted an officer. And
probably deserved it in this current climate.
Yeah, a cab.
Assigned cop at birth.
Yep. But so he comes to this town and is looking for them, and is like, "Where are the drag queens?" And then every person in the town, like, it's all a bunch of women, and they just, like, cis women, and they just all come out and are like, "Are you looking for me?" And they're just, like, putting on their best camp queen.
Oh, that's really good.
and it's like an I'm Spartacus, but with drag.
That's great. That vaguely reminds me, very unrelated, there's a movie called Executive Koala, where the main character is just a businessman wearing a giant koala suit, and nobody acknowledges that there's anything weird about this. They say, oh, you're an actual koala that learned business. And there's one woman in the entire movie that looks around and goes, what is going on? Why is there a koala? Why are you a gecko?
Isn't that the plot of Octodad?
A little bit, yeah.
There's a old SNL sketch. I think they only did one of it, but it's like Executive Baby. And it's this full-grown man. He's like 6'2", has a very deep voice, but he's like acting like a baby, and like he toddles around and like is crying whenever somebody gives him their resignation and they have to comfort him.
Yeah, actually, you were talking more drag queen stuff. So, another character I think doesn't really get enough love in Persona 5 is Lala, who is the bartender also in Shinjuku, who has is part of like the worst confidant in the game, and generally you don't know if like what their pronouns are when she's performing. Goes by she, so I'm just gonna go with that. But everyone's like pretty respectful of her. And the only joke they ever really make at her expense is that she's kind of like stuck up and very businessy. And it's like, oh, you never let us have any fun. And the only reference they really make to her cross-dressing is the fact that, yeah, like you can get a job there, and then one of the dialogue options is, oh, do I have to cross-dress too? And I think that's kind of funny. It's not like hurtful in any way. And Lala just kind of has like big Ursula energy. Like feels very much like divine.
That's
but
awesome.
Like serious and the straight man in every situation. Mm-hmm. Like Lala's a big time voice of reason.
Yeah.
Next topic, bad localization.
Okay, so, or rather, localization gone wrong.
Yeah.
My favorite example, I think, is Beast Wars. Mm-hmm. Major spoilers. And in it, there is a character named Air Razor, and she's awesome. She's like an eagle, or no, peregrine falcon. And
awesome birds.
In Japan, they made her a boy so that they could appeal to boys more, because the idea was boys wouldn't want to watch a show with girls in it.
A single girl.
Yeah, the one token girl, until they got Black Arachnia, who is queen, and they couldn't do anything about that because she has giant boobs. Yeah. So
they clearly weren't trying hard enough.
Because she's token girl, she has a love interest who is Quicksilver, who is like a flying wolf, I think, if I recall. And they have a love, and then like I think he dies, but then he comes back. Oh no, spoilers. But they kiss, and I want to say the end of, it's like 3/4 of the way through the series. Yeah. I think the series was 2 seasons, but I'm not 100% sure. It's been like 15 years, fam. But so they take him and they kiss, and then so in Japan it was 2 boys kissed, but they can't edit it out, so they just have to go with it. And then a bunch of people wrote in asking, hey, what the heck? Because this is the 90s in Japan. And they just had to respond with, some people are just like that.
Which in turn gave some awesome representation by accident.
Unanticipated accidental representation.
Wholesome representation.
Yeah. Because, like, you know, they just embraced it. They just went with it whole hog.
Okay, yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, you said there was something about Garnet as well.
Yeah, so this was just something that I ended up like reading about because I was looking into coding, and in Japan, Garnet is voiced by a man. Oh. And it's like, huh. Okay. I mean, they're gender neutral, so it really doesn't matter what their voices are, but it's just kind of funny because it's like, I wonder what the reasoning there is. Like, if they wanted to make it more, like, diverse.
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking. It's like, there's too many women. This won't appeal to boys.
That's what I mean, but I was trying to say it more politic.
But that's kind of exactly what was going on. I mean, if we're quoting someone who probably never said that directly, we can probably say these things.
No,
I refuse to let imaginary person use coded language.
I refuse to, like, use rude language about some Japanese executives for Japanese Cartoon Network.
I will use bad language about
watching this.
I will use bad language about the people at Atlas who won't let you stream Persona 5.
As you should.
Yeah, but speaking of yeah, actually, so talked about like Naoto not being trans. Here's a character who is definitely trans and everyone ignores, but in this house we stan Erica from Catherine.
Yes.
Who is one of my favorite characters ever, and every time anybody acknowledges her, they talk about what they did wrong rather than what they did right, and that really upsets me. I think I said in a previous video that if there was effort should be acknowledged and say, okay, you did great, maybe you can work on fixing this next time. The big issue with Erica is that she is she's dead named in the credits.
Ooh.
And like her reveal is kind of jokey as well, but it's like it's sort of it's not hateful. It's just kind of like sort of like a ribbing.
Yeah.
But the deal with Erica is that in Catherine, massive spoilers for Catherine. I haven't played Full Body yet, so I'm not going to talk about Rin, but I know there's probably a lot to say about Rin. But usually in Catherine, it starts off with a lot of characters having nightmares, and it's later revealed that the nightmares are caused. Yeah, it's mostly men. Are caused by fertility gods who are upset with them for not tying the knot and starting families because, like, no, we need everyone to start a normal nuclear family, damn it. We need to keep the species going. And
which, sorry to interrupt, but can I just say that is like the best motivation for fertility gods? That's like some Aphrodite shit.
It's pretty
right
fun,
there.
actually. They're not quite shipping because like anybody who's fertile, just do it. It's like if you're holding a woman back from childbirthing years, you need to get married right away. And in the case of Erica, is the one
fertility gods hate this.
It's like a clickbait ad. Fertility gods hate her. One weird trick.
It's getting. By the way, fun fact: if you get your tubes tied and you have an IUD put in, you have a 1 in 24 million odds of having a baby.
I like those odds.
Yeah. Hold on, just gotta get this one started.
Jeez, that's awful. So Erica is like the one woman who gets the nightmares, not because they're trans, but because they're the thing impacting their boyfriend from starting a family. Because Erica has a boyfriend who doesn't know that she's trans and thus unable to conceive. And that it's like, hey, break up with him so he can be with someone who can give him children, and the real villain of this is the old world thinking of the gods. And I think that's super interesting to actually take a trans character and tell a story like that. Mm-hmm. Which is like, it's like a darker story, but I think it has a lot of potential, and I'm happy that they deal with that.
Yeah.
And Erica's just a great character in general. Like, very fun. Like, she is very snappy and, kind of the absolute boss. Despite being a waitress, she runs that shit.
Now, this is just a question for me, but is Catherine an American game or a Japanese game?
It is Japanese. It's also made by Atlas. Same company that makes Persona.
Okay. So, honestly, well, I'm sure that there are things... I've never played Catherine.
I'd recommend it.
I've never played anything.
I've never played any game.
I am a filthy casual.
I was born today.
I was today years old when I learned about Catherine. No, I have never played Catherine, so, I can't say what, issues people had with the trans representation.
Generally, the only issues they have is that, you
said the dead name thing.
The dead name thing, that one's pretty shitty. I believe it was fixed. There was a misrepresentation controversy in Full Body where Reset Era got an early copy of the game that wasn't translated and thought that one of the endings was a timeline where Erica never transitioned, because you see because it's a wedding, and then you see Erica as a male, and there's a point where Toby, the guy she later ends up dating, is looking at the bride and going oh man, I hope I can find a woman like that someday, and Erica kind of nudges him and goes, one might be closer than you think. But it was a situation where it was a case where the wedding happened earlier before Erica transitioned. People thought it was an alternate universe where Erica never transitioned.
Okay,
and
so
that
it was like a flashback sort of thing.
Yes.
Okay.
And that was that was what pissed a lot of people off. And then there's the fact that when Toby, Erica's boyfriend, learns about this, he does say he loses virginity to her, and then they just randomly are talking. Goes but the guys called you Eric back in school. I want my V card back. And she's like, sorry, I'm not. Once that's punched, you can't give it back. It's more of a teasing thing. She just kind of rolls with it. I don't think it comes from a place of hate. It's just from a place of ugh.
Well,
which is shitty, but I don't think it's a shitty thing to say, but I think that the good Erica does definitely outweighs it, and I want to live in a world where all that progress happened, rather than saying, nope, don't want to do that, because I don't think I hate when people try to scare developers away from topics like this.
Yeah. And I don't want to, like, delegitimize people who had issues with some aspect or other.
Oh, definitely not. I just want to tell them to try and consider the big picture. If they still don't like it, that's fine by them.
I was just going to say that, like, I think, like, you know, that's certainly a conversation to have, but one issue that
it's one of my favorite conversations to have. I talk about Erica every chance I get.
But, like, one thing that I really don't like is that, like, fandoms will often, like you said, focus on the negative.
Yes.
And, like, developers, it's kind of a hidden secret, but, an open secret, really. But the second something comes out, they have, like, a group of interns or whatever who are just going on your Tumblrs and going on your Twitter and looking at everything you guys say. So it's like,
they know all your ships.
They do. They know your shame.
They know you were thirsty for everyone in Cuphead.
Yeah. They know about you shipping that weird thing that you ship. You know who you are.
Oh no, that's me.
It is you. They know your filth. Oh no, they know about my shark kinks. But like, it's not like don't say anything bad or you'll scare the developer off. But it's just like people do sometimes focus on the bad, like with like even with like Steven Universe. Like I think one thing that they did do decently was like Garnet. Spoilers for Steven Universe. And like the whole thing about like fusion, at least from what I recall, was done pretty well. Yeah. And like if you went into the Steven Universe fandom at any point, oh my God.
I'm so sorry if you did. I didn't like the show because I thought the animation was too floaty, so I dodged that bullet.
That's fine. Like I wish that there had been more weight. Like I think that's a valid animation critique.
They shouldn't have weight.
Yeah. No, they're made of popcorn rocks.
God, you're right. Ugh.
Pop rocks.
Pop.
I'm not sorry.
Okay.
My entire humor is dad jokes.
Yep. Good.
But like if you go into that fandom or like any fandom, you'll always find the group that they love to hate on it.
Yeah.
And just ruin it for everybody else. And it's like, don't be that guy.
Okay, I'm that person who loves to hate on things, but I'll hate it for one very, very specific reason.
Like they float.
Yes. They all float up here.
We all float here.
Yep. Oh, yeah, you wanted to talk about, Broken Earth Trilogy.
Yes, so, okay. So
more, like, well-written trans characters.
Yeah, so this is actually... Here's your shit. Papa Myrrh is gonna tell you some stuff. Okay, so Broken Earth Trilogy by my favorite author who's working right now, N.K. Jemisin. She makes... If you want any queer representation, she's got it for you. Message me, I will find you your shit. You want characters fucking gods, she's got that for you.
Oh, I'm down with that.
You want people of color, coded characters in a far-flung future where it's just a big bi orgy and like there's trans people, she's got it. I was about to say they blow up the moon, but that doesn't happen.
Oh, boo.
No,
I hate the moon up there looking all smug.
There's a book I read where they blow up the moon. Nope, I'm thinking of All No Zero. Worst show ever. I hate All No Zero.
Loves blowing up the moon. They don't know how tides work.
No, they don't. But anyways, so... actually, that was the one thing that All No Zero got right.
Oh, wow, okay.
The tides were fucked up because of it.
Good.
But anyways, so Broken Earth. There's bi characters, there's gay characters, people of color. It's great. Magic, earth magic. There's also a kinky character who's into shibari and is just the sexiest black-coded character ever. And I'm gonna keep saying black-coded or people of color coded because it's like 24,000 years into the future.
So, like, race doesn't really have much of a meaning.
Well, like, so she never actually calls people, like, a black character or anything. They all have, it's, like, different words, and she uses very beautiful words to describe like skin tone and stuff. But this is
subtlety and the thing.
And like there's like a description for like the like if you take kinky hair and you straightened it, is what I understand to be ash blown hair. I think it was called.
I never heard that term.
It's in the it's a
series.
Oh,
it's a series thing. Sorry.
But what's nice about it is that it's seen as the most beautiful and prized, and it's not something that you make. It's a genetic thing.
Okay.
Which I thought was really cool. And so there's a trans character in this named Tonki, I believe.
I don't like this name though.
And she is canonically a trans character, and that's not really accepted by her family, so she's kind of on her own. She's what's called comless.
That's the apocalypse, so.
Yeah, the apocalypse happens an hour into the show, or the book.
So it's not like that's a reference you won't get.
Yeah. But so she is great. I love Tonki. She's like the eccentric genius character, and she is overall. These are kind of minor spoilers for the series because she's a side character more so, but she's super helpful. She's trans. It's a part of her character,
but it's not the defining trait.
Yeah, it's not the defining trait. The defining trait is that she's a genius and she's weird.
And that's how it should be. I remember there was I think it was actually like a J.R.R. Martin quote, but it was somebody said, "Oh, he's like you're really good at writing female characters. What's your secret?" It's like, "Oh, I've always believed that women are people."
Yeah, and trans women of color are also people.
Write a character who happens to be something rather than a something character. Don't make that their defining trait because then they become shallow and it's kind of weird and it feels like you're hitting a quota.
And also, I feel like. And I don't really want to spoil anything because I know that nobody listening to this has read this book unless they're also into books.
Nobody listens to this can read.
Yeah, that's true. You're all degenerates. But like to give you just like a quick spoiler, Tonki does get a happy ending if I recall. I read the book like a year and a half ago, so don't come for me if I'm wrong. And her transness does play into her character. Yeah. Without it being like a defining thing, and other than a bunch of assholes not liking her, who were assholes anyways, it
that's totally a thing.
It doesn't ruin her life or anything. No. She's actually pretty happy, and she's able to find herself and be herself. And it's
that's
dope.
Cool. That's cool. That's a smart way to do all that.
Positive trans representation is Tonki from Broken Earth Trilogy. Best character.
Yeah. Okay, now back to a character who is often called trans and the one that upsets me to a huge degree. I believe you know it's one. Chihiro from Danganronpa.
Is that...
That's the programmer.
Okay.
So, Chihiro's story... is okay, so Chihiro is cross-dresses because Chihiro is like kind of this like very petite feminine boy. It's like the smallest character in the cast, and gets in Danganronpa everybody's brought into a death game, and like everyone just assumes Chihiro's a girl. Like Chihiro never says outright that he never claims to be a girl at any point. He just dresses like one, so everyone just assumes that, and it's revealed later on he does this because his entire life they're going, oh, why can't you be manly and strong? Why can't you be this? So he's like, oh, it's easier to just not have these expectations on me if I just pretend to be a girl. It's very similar to Naoto in that regard. And the tragedy of Chihiro's character is that many of the characters in Danganronpa they're fucked in the head. So, Chihiro befriends this biker who has like just kind of a chip on his shoulder because he gave in to his own insecurity and challenged some people to a dangerous race, and his brother took it for him, and then his brother died in the accident. So he just takes that upon himself, like, oh no, I don't want to be insecure, I don't want to be seen as like a role model or anything. And he takes Chihiro under his wing because he's just this big buff dude, and Chihiro thinks that's super cool because that's what Chihiro wants to be. Chihiro's the only one who is who confides in him. It's like, oh, I'm actually a guy and I'm doing this because I'm just insecure and I want to be like manly so I like people can accept me and I can accept myself. So he's like, oh, okay, cool. So they work out together, and at one point, like Chihiro says, like, oh, you're everything I want to be. It's like, you're my role model, and that just breaks Mondo, this biker guy, and he loses it and kills Chihiro.
Oh.
And the tragedy of the character is just that like it's like that Chihiro just saw manliness and didn't realize like how much aggression and insecurity and rage was behind it all, and just wanted to be that, even though it's like just awful for him. And if
just like my bearded dragon.
if Chihiro was trans, it would have been another situation like Naoto. It's like, oh, everyone assumes they're female anyway, just quietly transition and everything's fine. Everyone already thinks you are what you actually are. But no, Chihiro's not trans. Chihiro wants to be a big manly man and just embraces a toxic masculine goal that eventually kills him, and that's really sad.
I too want to be a big manly man. Really a big manly woman. I want to be Sakura.
Okay, Sakura is an interesting one because Sakura is like the biggest member of the cast. Just this huge like beast, this huge beast schoolgirl, like just crazy muscles. Looks like a JoJo character crossed with Kenshiro from Fist of the North Star. And
is my goal in life.
Yes. Oh, Sakura's great. I love Sakura. She's like the voice of reason. And
all of the lesbians went crazy.
Yeah. The problem that happened is everyone who played the game's like, yeah, Sakura's cool. Sakura's great. Except Tumblr's going like, oh, I love Sakura. She's clearly trans. And that's really gross to like assume that based on someone's appearance. It's very similar to the Abby is trans thing from Last of Us, which is one look at a character and in the case of Last of Us, I said, ew, gross, that person's trans. In the case of Sakura, a lot of people said, oh, it's so wonderful, that character's trans. And it's a difference between hatred and fetishism. And I really don't like that, and I just think that's gross because I think it's important to embrace that people can be all body types regardless of what they identify as.
Yeah, and like, for me, it's kind of like, it's like masculine woman erasure.
Yes.
And
yes, that one pisses me off a lot.
It's kind of misogynistic.
Oh, tall woman erasure is like really bad too. Like people say like, oh, Samus from Metroid is like 6'3" and muscular, therefore she's trans. Like no, it's a tall like strong woman that like they exist.
And now that doesn't mean that like if you're trans and you're like, yes, I am a masculine woman.
That's fine.
Or even if you're a feminine man.
What's important is what like, you identify as.
And you can totally embrace these characters as like, we stand this icon, fam.
Yeah.
It's just like, I don't like whenever people push that onto the canon. Yeah. And they're like this must be canon.
Whether it be fictional characters or real characters, I find that really gross.
Yeah.
Oh! Amazing representation character. Big spoiler for one of my favorite anime, Zombieland Saga.
I don't know it.
So that one the plot is that all these girls in different periods of history die, and then they're resurrected by this eccentric who wants to make an idol group out of them. And one of them is a TV star named Lily, who is a young trans girl. And was hadn't transitioned or anything, like just cross-dressed, and the only person who didn't respect her pronouns was her father, which is kind of weird. But the one of the things one of the things in the series that she considers her reborn as a zombie as her way of being like, oh, this is my rebirth as a woman. Because nobody knows what I was born as or any of that. And Lily's like a very well done character. And like I absolutely love that story. And one of my favorite parts is that the characters try to make a big deal out of finding out that that Lily is trans. And then it's like, hey, did you know about this? And the boss is like, yeah, I knew. Isn't this going to be an issue? No, it's not going to be an issue. What's wrong with you? It's like, I could be Lily for all I want. Get the hell out of my office. I love him.
That's pretty great.
Yeah, just scream like, hey, if you don't want her to be Lily, I can be Lily. He's like, shut up. It's great.
I was just thinking of some bad representation. I don't know why that reminded me. But there's this, I think it was on Netflix, but it's a show about this mafia like Yakuza boss who decides that he wants to make a Korean idol group.
Backstreet Girls.
Yeah, Backstreet Girls.
That anime was a trip.
Yeah. I'm just going to say, bad representation, not only because they don't want to be cross-dressers, but also it was just not funny. Yeah. And I feel like if you're going to do something like that, the least you can do is it can be over-the-top slapstick.
Yeah. It was over-the-top slapstick. I did watch it, but
funny.
it was
and I watched it in English to maximize potential.
Oh, that's got to be extra weird.
I watched it in English to maximize potential of comedy.
I have a friend who really loves that show. So.
Yeah. I did not. I watched about, maybe it gets better after the first episode. I don't know. Yeah. Could not stand it.
There was some moments But, like, yeah, it is, like... It is iffy, and I'll definitely say that. Like, if you're not offended by it, sure, you can enjoy it. If you are offended by it, then, yeah, like, don't watch it and all that kind of stuff.
And disclaimer, anybody can enjoy anything.
Anybody can enjoy anything. Unless
I'm super critical of a lot of things.
Unless you like feet. I will kink shame you.
I'm actually seeing a guy right now who's super into feet.
Oh, no.
But he's paying me for it.
Oh, that's fine.
He also likes the financial aspect.
Oh, well, there you go.
So I'm going to get, like, $40 to troll on the internet while this guy massages my
feet. $40 is $40.
Right?
Okay. Actually...
we need to put up that picture of the lizard who has the fading dream of the feet pics.
I don't think I've ever seen it. I'll find it later. But, okay, so another great character. This is kind of a bit of a questionable one for the actual, like, Japanese intent, but Ladiva from Granblue. So Ladiva is a trans woman who is part of a race called Dramphs, which are kind of that universe's version of dwarves that has extreme sexual dimorphism. So the women are like 4.5 feet tall and they're just super curvy, and the men are on average 7 feet tall and just super muscular. So Ladiva,
as God
intended. So Ladiva is like feminine presenting, use female pronouns. It says like I'm a beautiful woman as a wrestler, the best character in the game, and will and generally everyone respects her pronouns. Everyone will call, like, say she, oh, that woman over there, even though like Ladiva is physically incapable of shaving because her facial hair grows back way too fast. And says like generally will present feminine by wearing like kind of revealing clothes and have like long, gorgeous blonde hair.
That's beautiful.
And just super muscular. And
we stand Ladiva.
Yeah, I love Ladiva. I'll stand Ladiva all the time. Every single like YouTuber I've ever seen just calls Ladiva she, and that's awesome to me.
By the way, speaking of sexual dimorphism, my favorite thing is in nature. A lot of times, everybody knows about Big Mama Spider and tiny cuckboy man spiders, but lizards will also do that, where the females will be generally bigger.
Yeah.
So, I have a bearded dragon, and he's just this little fucking beta cuck, but he wants to be an alpha male, and sometimes he does like their alpha male displays, like he stomps and shakes his head.
He's a big strong boy.
I had to pull out a Seminole plug the other day.
Yeah, you were saying that.
And he enjoyed it way too much. That's really all I have to say about it. I'm gonna kink shame my lizard.
So most interesting thing about Ladiva is that there's a point in the story mode of the game. In the fighting game, by the way. There's a story mode where a wizard is talking to her and goes, it's like, we could use alchemy to give you the body you want. And Ladiva goes, I appreciate the offer, but like I consider my body a gift from my parents, and I don't want to change that. And people already accept me for me, so.
If you woke up one day and you had a perfect sex change to a woman.
Yeah.
And like you basically like we did a Freaky Friday switch.
Yeah.
But it's like your aesthetic.
Yeah.
How would you feel?
I would feel very neutral about the whole thing, to be honest. Generally I've always there's a comedian I like who says we're all just pilots dropped into different vehicles.
I say that we're all pilots piloting fleshy mech suits.
Yes. And it's the whole thing that, like, I'm still me on the inside, so I have, like, the zero dysphoria thing as well, so it's like, I wouldn't really care.
Yeah. I mean, I would look like Arnold Schwarzenegger, so that'd be dope.
I'd be just tiny real-life anime girl. No, I'd be, like, probably super tall.
No, I'd be, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I love Arnold Schwarzenegger. How heavy are the dumbbells you lift? Oh, that show's good.
Not for, like, trans representation, but for, like...
fitness representation.
Yeah, fitness representation and, like, women who have different goals.
Yes.
As far as fitness.
Yeah. Whether it be, I want to be sexy, I want to be buff, I'm thirsty.
Yeah. Basically.
Yeah. And generally the last thing we'll talk about, because we've been going way longer than I thought we would, is bad headcanons versus good headcanons.
So, did you want to start this one off?
A little bit. I would say that very similar to the Chihiro and Naoto thing, as well as the Kanji thing, if your like headcanon representation actively affects the character's arc that is saying something bigger about society, then it's probably not good for the character to be a different thing than what they are in your headcanon. But if it's just like kind of a choice of I relate more to this character if they're this, or I think this character displays traits of being this, it doesn't affect the storyline or any statements that are made, I'm gonna go with that. And I think people are more willing to accept that as well. In the case of Devil May Cry fandom, there's an ongoing joke that Dante is asexual. He shows like no interest in sex whatsoever, and would rather just eat pizza and Sundays, then get depressed when he's not working. And
all of the girls who have an emo boy fetish cry.
I love Dante so much. Oh, God. But I feel like if Capcom came out and said, "Hey, Dante's gay," I think the fandom would just be totally fine with it, especially after the fiasco that was DMC Devil May Cry, which I talked about a little bit in a previous video. When Ninja Theory was trying to hype up their new Dante, they put out a pretty damn homophobic press conference. It was like, Dante is this, and it's like Johnny Cash. It's like, Dante is not this, and it's like Guns N' Roses. It's like, Dante's not, Dante is this, and it's like John Wayne's like, but he's not this, and it's, they put him in the background. No, that was what, it was saying like, we imagined Dante in a Western, and it's like, but we couldn't really do it, and they put Dante in the background of Brokeback Mountain. And so basically saying Dante's not a gay cowboy, and then the entire fandom immediately screamed, "Yes, Dante's the gayest cowboy."
They call me a gay cowboy.
And then in Devil May Cry 5, you get a hat that is one of your guns. And he puts on the hat.
A gun.
Yeah, it's a hat you put on, and then you can like throw your currency at people. So
instead of the gangster of love, is he the gayster of love?
Yeah, yes. And he puts on this cowboy hat and does Michael Jackson dances, and it's like, oh my God, they made Dante the gayest cowboy.
Good.
They made it canon. And it's wonderful.
Headcanon accepted.
Every Devil May Cry fan loved it. Which, to me, I think says that even in the most boys club like video games thing, if something is like presented in like vaguely like a neutral way as just being a fact of the character, or just being like not not interfering with a previous statement, people are willing to accept a character being like queer representation.
I would say for me with headcanons, I think that you're the same way, but I don't think either of us really give a shit what you personally headcanon.
Yes.
Like, I actually fully support every character is trans, queer, secretly a otherkin. I don't really care what your headcanon is. Let's make everything weirder. But and I think that's actually where a lot of headcanons do come from, is because there's a lack of representation.
Yes.
Thank you, Hays Code. And its effects unto this day. But I think that's like where a lot of headcanons come from, is because we really don't have, especially for queer people, we really don't have enough representation.
No, and I definitely agree with that. But I think that taking a character, like taking a existing character and making them something else is not the way to do it. I prefer new characters being representation, because then you get that blowback of why are you making a previous character this?
Yeah. So what I was gonna say is like where I really draw the line is at like saying that because that's your headcanon and it makes you happy, that the creators should make that.
That's
getting
shitty.
Mad at creators because you have this parasocial relationship with them, and they didn't do what you wanted them to do.
Yeah. Don't care about canon. Just write your own fanfic.
Voltron fandom cough. But what was it that you had said a second ago?
Just don't. Write your own fanfic.
It was like you don't want existing characters.
You don't want to like change an existing character unless you make something new. Like, I think that Miles Morales and like Jane Foster. Is her name Jane Foster? Jane Foster as Thor and Spider-Man, but their own versions is cool. That's a very controversial opinion, but it's the fact that they're already their own characters and they're not just, hey, what if this character but this? Yeah. Like, Miles Morales is not Peter Parker but black. Miles Morales is definitely his own character.
Yeah, he's absolutely his own character.
As much as some people refuse to admit that. Apparently,
the original the Sam Raimi Spider-Man comics, I think it was, or movies, that Peter Parker's personality was based on comics Miles Morales' personality.
That's kind of great.
I could be wrong about that. Don't come for me, Spider-Man fandom.
I don't know if that's true, but I'll accept it until I learn otherwise.
Because somebody was explaining why Miles in the movie had a different personality, had a bit of a different personality than he did in the comics.
Yes.
And they were saying that it was to differentiate him from movie Peter Parker.
There is such a good line. Sorry to cut you off. There's such a good line in one of the comics where Miles is watching TV and his costume gets ripped, and everyone's going like, "Oh my God, Spider-Man's black. This is so cool." And then he's watching the show. It's like, I don't want to be Black Spider-Man. I just want to be Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. And I think that's like just a really interesting line, because the case is like, no, I want to be a representation for everybody. Mm-hmm. It's like I don't want to be narrowed down to like something that is like, it's a trait of me, but it's not my entire personality.
Yeah. But on like changing characters, I think sometimes,
I think in reboots it's fine.
Yeah, I was gonna say for reboots, like I'm okay with it. Like, here's the real controversial opinion. I didn't hate the female gender bent Ghostbusters. I actually literally lost a friend over saying, I kid you not, I lost a friend at work once over saying that I thought it was an okay movie.
You see, I am of the opinion that it being an okay movie makes it the worst of all, because I don't like things that are average.
I mean, I don't like average movies either. Somebody did something where they were talking about ways that they could have improved it. I think it was editing or something.
Scripting is the most important thing, because the movie barely had a script. The director just kind of let everybody talk and never said cut. Mm-hmm.
Well, for me, like, the biggest issue that I had was most of the best punchlines, not even the jokes, but just the punchlines were in the trailers.
Yeah.
So every joke in it, I knew the punchline.
Yeah, that's awful.
And so, like, I wouldn't say it was the best movie ever. You know, there were a lot of issues with it. But I did not mind gender-bent Ghostbusters.
I would not mind gender-bent Ghostbusters.
Have fun getting your channel canceled.
I don't care. I've said way dumber stuff. You can't cancel me. I'll cancel myself.
But like when they made the editor, I forget his name because I don't care about Superman. Yeah. But the editor, when they made him black, for example, I thought it was really stupid that people cared.
Yeah, that's like, I don't even know who the editor in Superman is.
Yeah. Also, like, you know, something like that, or like for Cats, they made old Deuteronomy. They made him Judi Dench.
With a giant, horrible wedding ring.
And, you know, even if that movie had been good...
That movie was fun, though.
Yeah, it was fun. But, like, you know, like, I really, like... It doesn't bother me, honestly, when they change up stuff about characters like that.
Yeah, you know what? I think I'll retract my statements sometimes. Like, in that case, like, yeah, if you're doing that, like, yeah, sure, why not mess with it a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, why not? Okay, yeah, you actually changed my mind.
Just make it really good, also.
This started off as a joke, but I started, like, noticing it more and more. They really like to remove ginger characters.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
It's really odd, like the
It's because they don't have souls, so it doesn't translate well.
Exactly. No, but I made a joke about ginger erasure, and then it stopped being a joke at one point, because I'm like, wait, this is like actually a thing, because it was the case of when people were talking about the actress playing Ariel for the live action Little Mermaid, they're like, no, I don't want Ariel to be black, and I'm like, I just want her to be a redhead still.
I think she still had red hair.
Oh, good. As long as she has red hair, that's great. Perfect.
Yeah.
And
it was a dark red.
That's fine, as long as it's red.
Yeah.
But
I
guess not officially ginger, whatever, redheads.
By the way, so funny thing is there's this...
Yeah, Mary Jane's not a redhead anymore. She's played by Zendaya.
Yeah. I wish it was Zendaya with red
hair.
She would look amazing,
She would look really good with red hair.
Plot twist, she totally wouldn't.
She would look so bad.
They'd do it, but then it'd be like Mira in the Aquaman movies, where it's just really, really bad.
Oh.
It's wiggalicious.
I think the Black Widow in the comics had blonde hair, and they made her a redhead.
I don't No.
I'm remembering wrong, probably.
No, you might be right, but also, like, you know, she's probably had every color of hair.
Yeah,
She's
yeah.
a super spy.
Yeah, I think that happened in She-Ra, too. I remember pictures of the Friend where he had red hair, looked like a small Freddie Mercury, like, but redhead, and then he looks like Jaden Smith in the reboot.
Yeah, I think he does look kind of like
So
Jaden
it's like,
Smith.
why are you taking away my redheads?
They do have a redhead in it.
Oh, okay, that's good.
I forget his name. He's a sea captain.
As long as they have a redhead, I'm happy.
He's a sea captain. He also has a great mustache. And is a dork.
Yeah.
I love him. He's my favorite.
Yep. We should probably be wrapping this up unless you
Yeah.
have closing statements. This went much longer than I thought this was going to. Holy shit.
I mean, yeah, that's what always happens. Just
Yep.
edit it down.
I don't know
He's
where
not gonna edit it.
I'll edit out that one spot.
Yeah, just one spot.
Yep. Few
You
seconds.
will never know.
That one spot where we said all those really controversial things.
Yeah.
So the whole podcast gone.
Yeah. Just hit delete. 4 hours of our lives wasted.
19 hours.
Yes. Yeah, we've been recording for 48 hours right now. It's really gone way too long. Jason, he has no control. This podcast is sponsored by Sweet Gherkins. Just
And
all of them.
Also sponsored by wearing a goddamn mask when you work at a restaurant or when you walk into a restaurant or go in the vicinity of a restaurant. Don't wear it around your chin, you horrible people. Also
vegan, also actual product placement, but vegan marshmallows from Trader Joe's.
For anybody who's watching this maybe years down the line, this is during the Corona pandemic. Although I'm pretty certain that in like 10 years it's still going to be going on with the rate we're handling this.
Yeah.
So, yay, forever reference.
Also, Corona, I am convinced, did its best to kill Hot Girl Summer, but Hot Girl Summer ain't going nowhere. People don't care.
And
Okay,
with
peace.
that, good night.